Oh wait, we should fix that. That's better. Hey guys, I'm Elisa, and today I'm going to be talking about the absolute nightmare, catastrophe, disaster that was my first experience living away from home. Oh, get ready. Because not only did I move away from home and just, you know, switch houses or switch cities, I changed countries. So it was a pretty big change as it was. Before we begin, if you would like to support my channel, then you can go on Patreon because there's a ton of exclusive content. So if you're learning English, for example, and you want to listen to my podcast so you can improve your listening skills and even your pronunciation. I mean, the people who are in it say it's super helpful. I mean, it must be true. Having said that, let's begin. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Canadian. I live in Italy currently, but before moving to Italy, I didn't just go directly there. I actually moved to Australia so that I could be with my, I was gonna say boyfriend, but anyway, let's say fiance, even though it feels really weird to say that. I moved to a completely new country and it was already, because of that, going to be kind of a stressful experience, especially considering the fact that Australia is really, really far away. But the first person I ended up living with, because, you know, I wasn't thinking about getting an apartment on my own or anything. So my fiance had already been living there for a couple of months before I got there. So he took care of this for me and found a place and talked to her and blah, 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 all that stuff. The person in question is this, I'm already angry. This older lady who seemed, you know, very innocent, seemed just like a, you know, just like an old lady who lives by herself. Old lady, I mean, I don't know how old she was. Maybe she was in her 60s, but like her soul was like 150 years old. Like, not like she was wise, like she was just bitter about life. Anyway, and she seemed innocent, right? Little did we know that, well, she was not, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't be making this video. I make my way from Canada to Australia. It's a really, really long trip. I'm pretty sure the whole trip from beginning to end was like 36 hours. And of course, the food that they give you and the food that you have access to when you're traveling is usually not the best. So there's a reason that that point matters, okay? So I arrived in Australia after not seeing my boyfriend for months, and I was so excited and so exhausted, and we go to her house or whatever, and I swear she was nice for like 15 seconds. Like those first 30 seconds were the only time that she was like a normal human being. I swear after, like it was over, that was it. I don't know why, and it's like, I don't understand. Honestly, I'm trying to figure out why she became so horrible. But anyway, let's get into why she was horrible. So, you know, after eating junk food on the plane and whatever stuff they give you, it's not the best. To me, there's nothing better than when you get home or you get to your destination and you just have like a home-cooked meal and it's just like, oh, just like cleanse your body from all the garbage that was in whatever food they gave you. There was this Italian food store and we went there and we got some ingredients and then came back and then I started cooking and like I don't understand what I possibly could have done that could have pissed her off so much in like 30 seconds of saying, hi, how are you? My name's Elisa. Like, do you have things against people named Elisa? Do you have things against like people with curly hair? Like, I don't know what it was because I was so nice to her. Anyway, it's fine. So I come home and I'm cooking and you could tell she was like already irritated. I don't know why people like rent out rooms if they're gonna be so irritated by the presence of the people. But anyway, okay, here's the thing. I have to do an introduction to this voice because my boyfriend and I developed this voice that we use for her. It's not an Australian accent. It's just like, I don't even know. Anyway, she walks in and her first reaction is like, ooh, already cooking? I just spent 36 hours traveling. So like, yeah, I'm hungry. You know, I'd like to eat and I would really like to not have to go eat something. Like, I want to eat something that's gonna make my body feel good after all that trouble and 36 hours of freaking traveling. Like, is that so bad? But again, she wasn't asking it like, oh my God, how do you have the energy to cook? Like, aren't you tired? She was asking, like, she said it in a way where you could tell she was irritated. And I'm like, why? Later I understood why, but we'll get to that. In retrospect, I understood that that was something really annoying, but like it was the first thing she said, so I was like, oh, I mean, maybe she's just curious or something, right? You know, these kind of annoying little things, you will see, just started getting worse. I don't even remember if it was that same day or if it was another day, but it doesn't matter. I was making pasta, and so there are 4 burners or 5 or whatever she had. Naturally, when you boil water, you use the biggest burner because it works faster. And she was like, ooh, oh, don't use the big burner, waste gas. Which to me makes no sense because if I'm gonna use the small burner, it's gonna take way longer to boil the water. So you're probably gonna waste more gas using the small one. But okay, fine. So I had to like use it on like the small shitty burner, and then like I had the sauce on the other thing and it couldn't fit because there was no freaking, anyway, it was really, I was like, whatever, fine. It's her house, like I'll use the small burner, which again, at this point probably doesn't sound that annoying to you. But when you see the way that she said it and the way that like everything irritated her and the way that you weren't allowed to do anything because everything bothered her, it just built up into the most annoying thing possible. I eat, I need to clean, right? I need to clean the dishes, and she's like, oh, don't use the dishwasher, the soap's too expensive. Fine, I'll wash them by hand, that's okay. Like, these things all connect to, it's like anything that you could possibly do, she found something wrong with it. I'm not allowed to cook because that wastes gas. I want to clean, but I can't use the dishwasher, which is fine. Like I can wash them by hand. That's not a big deal because, you know, the soap costs too much. And then, so she had these, you know, the cloths you use to dry dishes. So when I would dry them, you know, I would obviously use that. But this became a problem because I don't know when it was that I first really felt the cold, because it might have been after like maybe the first day or first 2 days, it wasn't that cold yet. But anyway, it had gotten colder. Okay. So it was maybe like 12 degrees Celsius, and indoors, I swear it was colder. I swear it was colder. So she never wanted to turn on the heat. Even with 2 thick sweaters, I was like dying. It's so cold, like, aren't you cold? And she had like 3 sweaters on. She's like, oh, just wear a sweater. I'm like, I'm wearing 2 sweaters. Oh, wear another one. And I'm like, okay, but like you have heat. Like, why not just use the heat? I mean, I'm paying for half the bill. So like, why not just like use the heat? Oh, it's like this everywhere in Australia. Oh! I'm pretty sure they like use heating, but okay, fine. So anyway, I was like, fine, okay, in her area, whatever. Yes, I'm paying half the bills, but it's her house, so whatever, just let's freeze. But at least in my room, there was a heater. Thank the Lord, there was a heater in my room. And I had to crank that thing up to like 30 degrees. I ended up spending a lot of time in my room because of that, obviously. You know, I'd be able to sleep pretty comfortably with that heater on. The only thing is that bothered her because the next morning she complained, "Ooh, you use the heat! I can feel the heat coming in from under the door!" And it's like, what are you doing? Are you like sticking your face at like the bottom of the door and like trying to feel if there's heat coming out of it? Or she's like, the heat's like going through the walls or something? Like, I don't know what she said, but she was like complaining because it wasn't freezing. It was awful, especially in the kitchen. Oh my God, every time I had to cook, it was like a nightmare. And then, you know, I'd wake up in the morning and it was so painful to eat breakfast because like I would go to the kitchen and it's like freaking living with penguins because it was like so cold in there. So anyway, I had breakfast with the penguins like basically every morning, but you know, it was actually so cold. It was painful to be there for more than like 2 minutes. Like my hands would start freezing. So I would end up just like taking whatever food I have and like going to my room and eating it in my room so I wouldn't freaking die of cold. The next few days, every time I would cook, it was like a problem. Like she would come up to me and like literally I'm cooking, she would come up to me. She would open the pots of like whatever I was cooking and like look in there and be like, "Oh, what are you cooking?" You know, it's not like she was asking out of like curiosity or like, "Oh, what are you cooking?" Like I'm interested or in knowing what you're cooking because I'm curious or to make conversation. She was so nosy. Like she just had to like intrude on everything you were doing to make you as uncomfortable as humanly possible. It was so irritating. One time I was making, I think, meatballs or something. And of course that wasn't okay with her either. She was like, first of all, she'd do her typical, "Whoa, what are you cooking?" And I'd say, "Oh, I'm making meatballs." "Oh, why are you making meatballs from scratch? You can buy it." Yeah, I can buy it, but like, you know, some people enjoy cooking or like want to know what's in their food. Is it so weird that I was cooking meatballs? Like, is that the most horrible thing you can do in the house of that you are living in? Like, I get that it's not my house, but like, really? I have to cook what she wants me to cook? Like, I guess this is just a way for her to complain about me cooking because, you know, if I just ate things that were already made, then I didn't have to like use the gas and use electricity and use whatever. You know, I explained earlier how being in the kitchen was like living with penguins in the North Pole. I would clean up after cooking and I would use those rags to dry the dishes. But the thing is that, you know how those thin rags get? Like they get wet and they don't absorb that much, and so they kind of stay wet for a while. Eventually they dry. But the thing is, it was so cold that those freaking towels would never dry. they would never freaking get dry. They would just like stay wet for days and days and days. And they started to, guess what? Smell bad. Because if you leave a freaking wet rag that you use a million times in the freaking cold, and you keep using it and keep, like, it never dries or whatever, and you don't change it, of course it's gonna start smelling bad. So I did something horrible. Like, how dare I do this? I opened the drawer and I took another one, but I didn't touch the old one. I was like, I don't want to put it somewhere because maybe it's not going to be in the place that she wants me to put it. So I'm just gonna, there were two like little racks for it. So I put it on the other rack and I just used that one because the other one was soaking wet. Like I couldn't dry anything with it and it smelled bad. At some point she walks in and she's like, oh, what's with all the tea towels? Well, I mean, the other one was wet. And so, you know, it was time to change it. I don't know what I said exactly, something like that. But she got offended. She's like, oh, well, when do you think it's time to change the tea towels? Oh. I don't know. She was so irritated by the fact that I used another one. And I was like, I mean, when they smell bad, like, I'm sorry, but like it smelled bad. So I was like, I'm gonna change it because it stinks. Like, and she was giving me so much freaking attitude. So I mean, I could have said it more nicely, but come on. Like after weeks of her being irritated by literally everything I did, that's the worst thing I did. The worst thing I did is she said, when do you change tea towels if you're so smart? And I said, when they stink. So I guess I'm horrible because I responded to her improperly. Yeah, I swear to God, just your existence annoyed her. If you would literally open the door of your room and go out, she would always like make it look like you bothered her in some way, or like you scared her. Like literally, you'd open the door, she'd be like, oh! Every time I would like open the door and leave the room, she would always be like right there. And it's not like I was opening it super quickly and making a lot of noise and that shocked her. Like I was just simply opening the door and exiting my room to go to like the kitchen or something. And it was always, oh, 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 oh. I have no words for this. I would do anything I possibly could to avoid interaction with her. It got to the point where I would just take whatever food that I would eat in the morning, like something that didn't need to stay in the fridge, and I would just keep it in my room and eat breakfast in my room. And then I would wait until she finished eating lunch, and then she would go back to her room so I could go out, and then like I would make sure we didn't cross paths ever. I would go and I would cook and I would do it so fast and eat quickly so I could go back into my room and not have to deal with her. I would not eat dinner until like 10:30 at night or something when she would be done watching TV and like go to bed. So I didn't have to see her. It was so bad. But like at some point we ended up crossing paths, or I was cooking and like she left and I was cooking and she heard that I was cooking lunch or something, and then she came back out. I was in a bad mood about something else, I think, but I wasn't like really doing anything. It's just that I wasn't like in a super talkative mood. So she did her usual, oh, what are you cooking? And I was just like, you know, responding in a slightly more like sad way or something. I don't know. And she's like, oh, what's wrong? Oh, like nothing. I'm not gonna get into it. It's like a personal thing. And it's not like we're friends. Like she freaking hates my existence. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna start talking to her about my personal life? No. I was just like, no, it's really nothing. No, tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. It's really nothing. It's a personal thing. Her response to that was, oh, usually people try to be more friendly. What did I do? It's like I'm not allowed to have a personal problem that I don't want to talk to you about. Look, I'm a really open person, okay? I'm not the type of person that like hides stuff, but it's like if you're literally like my mortal enemy, why am I gonna go tell you about my personal stuff? No. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. This is not a very good first experience in Australia, although she definitely does not represent Australians in any way, but oh my goodness. I'd always heard how friendly Australians were, and they are. Oh my God, this first experience was like, everything she could possibly do. You know, the internet. She came up to me one day, she's like, oh, by the way, the internet's only for emails. You're gonna rent your room out to a young person who obviously is gonna use the internet, who is paying half of your internet bill, and the internet's only for emails? What are we, in the friggin' 1980s? The internet's only for emails. Honestly, I was so pissed at that point, I didn't care. I was like, screw this, I'm watching Netflix. Like, honestly, I don't care. I'm paying half the bill. She has lots of internet. She just doesn't want me to use it because she's mean. She was so mean. Ooh, long shower. Ooh. Everything you did, you had to wait for stupid comments to come after it. I came home at like, I think 10:30 or 11, and she had already been in bed or something. And I walked in like a ninja. Like I was so careful, like tiptoeing, going slowly, making sure not to wake her up, closing the door very slowly, turning on the light switch very like, you know when you have you like balance the light switch so it makes the least amount of sound possible, and then walking and going to my room, whatever, and doing my thing and going to bed. Now, I was so quiet, okay? I swear, I was so quiet. And then the next morning she complains, "Oh, you woke me up last night." Oh, I'm sorry. What was it? Was it the door or going to the bathroom or something? And she's like, "Oh, you woke me up with the light switch." So let me get this straight, okay? Let's go on an adventure, okay? Let's zoom in. You mean to tell me that this woke you up? This sound, this is how quietly I did it. Like, not the door, not me washing my face, or the light switch woke you up. Oh my God. Like, just imagine I spent all day waiting for her to be gone so I could be a human and like eat and stuff. Like, there's no way I was gonna continue living with this person, obviously. And so I was trying to find a new place to live. I would go out and I would spend the whole day going to apply for jobs or going to look for new apartments, hoping that she wouldn't be there when I got back so I could just live in peace. It was unbearable. I knew that having roommates could be difficult, but I didn't realize that it could be this bad. Like, of course there's always worse, but like this is, oh my God. Like, in her perfect world, I would be just like her. I would have 1,000 cookbooks, which she did. She had so many cookbooks, and I never saw her cook once. Not once. She used to eat chips, like potato chips for dinner. And I'm like, Kate, you're criticizing me because I'm making things from scratch? Like, I'm sorry, but one of those people that's so bitter about life. Why are you renting your room out to people if you hate people? I was so careful because I know that it can be annoying when somebody else is coming into your home and they do things the wrong way. I mean, of course, I've never experienced that, but I didn't want to bother her. I didn't want to be annoying. I didn't want to intrude. You're renting your room out. I'm paying half the bills and I can't do literally anything. Anything, nothing. Everything I do bothers you. Everything. Everything I do bothers you. So that was it, okay? I said, you know what? I need to find a new apartment. I need to get out of here. This is an absolute nightmare. I cannot live like this. It was maybe while I explain it, it doesn't seem that bad. I had so much anxiety all day long, because it just felt like living with a bully who would like poke at me for everything I did. Eventually, thank the Lord, I found a little tiny studio apartment and I was out of there. She was outside in the backyard, and so I went up to her and she was planting something. I don't know why, because it's not like she cooked anyway, but whatever. Just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be moving out and going to a new apartment. Oh, yes, I think that's for the best. What did I do to you, woman? I'm sorry I cooked. I'm sorry I made things from scratch. I'm sorry I used a new tea towel when the old tea towel smelled like absolute freaking stinky, moldy garbage. I'm sorry I didn't freeze my butt off with the penguins every single day, all day. I'm sorry I didn't wear 5 or 6 layers of sweaters. I'm sorry I didn't use the internet only for emails, even though I'm paying for half the bill. I'm especially sorry for flicking that light switch. Terrible, terrible of me. I'm such a horrible person. So I turn around and I go back. You know, I'm walking through the grass because there's no path. Ooh, you stepped on my plant! And I look down and it's like a freaking weed. It's fine, I'm leaving, it's fine. I just contain your anger. Even to the very last second. You know, the last day I was packing up all my stuff and I went to the bathroom to go like grab some things. It's not like I was going to the bathroom to like use the toilet. I was going to the bathroom to grab my stuff and put it in my bedroom where my suitcase was. You know, I would understand if I were like peeing and the door is open. Okay, very reasonable. The door should be closed. I go back to the bathroom, I grab more stuff, and while I'm grabbing it, she's like, "Ooh, shut the door!" Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention how she slammed the door after she did that. Do you have an explanation for this behavior? Like, really, do you have an explanation for this behavior? Because I don't. I just started laughing because I'm like, this is ridiculous at this point. Anyway, I packed up my stuff. I was trying to find the key, and it's the last thing I'm gonna do is give her the key. She didn't even give me a chance to get them. She's like, "Oh, where's the key? I want my key." At this point, I was mad. I took the keys and I threw them. I have a lot of patience, but oh my gosh, she just destroyed my patience. It was gone. So then I started going out the door and she's like, "Oh, you won't last long in Australia with that attitude. Bye." And so that was the end of my the beginning of my Australian adventure. I lived there for almost a year, but that was the first 20 days. It was pretty bad. Couldn't find a job, lived with this like horrible, wretched old witch who like hated everyone and everything. Your home is like a good, nice place where you're comfortable and you're safe and you're like allowed to, you know, live without having to see penguins walking around. You know, so maybe I'm spoiled, but from that point I decided not to live with roommates anymore, ever again, which was a great choice. Before we go, if you want to support my channel, please go on Patreon. There are tons of bonus videos and exclusive content and extended cuts of videos and my podcast and just lots of fun stuff, Patreon only posts. So join the club if you want to help support me and make more videos more possible. Like this video if you enjoyed it, leave me a comment, let me know what experiences you guys have gone through. Have you lived with roommates? Have you had any like nightmare roommate situations? You know, have you ever lived in a different country and had problems because of like cultural differences or anything like that? I'm really curious to know. Subscribe to my channel if you ever want to see my face again, and turn on post notifications. I love you all very much. I hope you found this video entertaining. I'll see you next time. Bye!